On the show today, we talk finals footy.
The English Premier League returns after the international break.
And could Nick Kyrgios be good for tennis?
Stick around for all that and more. This is the Armchair Experts. Hello and welcome to the Armchair Experts, and thank you so much for joining us once again. My name's Daniel Jeffrey. Alongside me is Jordan Matthews, and together we'll be taking you through the week's biggest sporting news.
That's right, and we'll be spending plenty of time looking at AFL and NRL finals this weekend, as well as taking a bit of a look back at Ben Stokes' controversial dismissal. But first, let's get some news headlines, where we'll start with the Matildas' pay dispute.
The Matildas have cancelled their upcoming tour of the United States as their pay dispute with Football Federation Australia continues. The Matildas currently earn just over $20,000 a year and are actively seeking an increase in pay. Matildas forward Ashley Sykes said the ongoing dispute is forcing players into difficult choices about their future. South Sydney will be without George Burgess on Friday after the NRL judiciary handed him a 2-match suspension. Burgess' ban comes after he threw a water bottle at Roosters forward Kane Evans last Friday in their 30-0 loss. Melbourne forward Jesse Hogan has taken out the prestigious 2015 AFL Rising Star Award. The 20-year-old had an outstanding debut season for the Demons, kicking 44 goals and averaging 7 marks to finish 8 points clear on the leaderboard. Carlton midfielder Jack Cripps polled 41 votes to finish runner-up following his excellent season. In other AFL news, Sydney have been dealt another big blow ahead of their qualifying final against Fremantle on Saturday, with star forward Lance Franklin expected to miss the match. The Swans released a statement on Tuesday saying that Franklin was being treated for an ongoing mental health condition and would miss this weekend's game against Fremantle. The news further weakens the Swans after the injury of their co-captain Kieran Jack on Saturday. The fallout from Australia's Ashes loss has continued, with wicketkeeper Brad Haddin and all-rounder Shane Watson retiring from Test cricket. Haddin called it quits on all first-class cricket, while Watson will continue to represent Australia in the shorter formats of the game.
So of course, plenty happening in the wonderful world of sport at the moment, but as Aussie sport fans, nothing more so than AFL finals and NRL finals. Let's start with the AFL ones. Jordan, let's break down these, starting with 1v4, Freo v Sydney.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a big match-up, I suppose. When you look at Sydney, no Jack, no Parker, now no Buddy, I think they're really going to struggle. In saying that, if there's one side they probably can beat, it's Fremantle. So they're going to play that lockdown style of defence. Ross Lyon plays that very defensive footy. It's going to be congested. It's probably going to be low scoring, but I'm going to go with Freo. Yeah,
you're right. It's a huge ask for Sydney now to do well in these finals without some of their key players. They've got the deepest midfield in the competition though. So you look, they've still got McVeigh, Kennedy, Hanbury, Mitchell. Like, these are quality midfielders. And against Freo, as you said, it's going to be low scoring, so they might not miss Buddy too much. That being said, you're missing arguably the best forward in the comp, so it's going to be tough. I'm tipping Freo to just get up in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got West Coast Hawthorn, 2 versus 3.
What a way to start the finals. Of course, this Friday night footy tomorrow night. And God, it looks like it's going to be an absolute shootout. You've got 2 of the best forward lines in the competition. I just can't wait for this game.
Yeah, look, it's going to be massive. Arguably 2 of the highest pressing sides in the comp. So they're both going to press right up the ground into the opposition's forward line. It's going to make for a lot of run and carry, very counter-attacking. It probably will be high scoring. Both teams have kicked a lot of goals, scored a lot of points this year. So Subiaco with that long, narrow field, I think, that break-off halfback is going to be important. Hawthorn without Isaac Smith could be a bit of an ask. They say he might be right to play, so we'll just have to wait and see for that one. But I'm going to stick with West Coast, although for me it's a bit of a toss-up.
Yeah, I'm going with West Coast as well, I think, especially if Isaac Smith doesn't play. That hurts Hawthorn a lot. They've got the players to cover him, guys like Burgoyne. Obviously their midfield's fantastic, but with the home ground advantage as well, I'm going West Coast.
Absolutely. And then we've got 5 versus 8, Richmond versus North. Now, we had this matchup last week, so how do you think it'll play out this week?
Oh, I'm excited for this one. I think these two teams, they're very much kind of Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know which version of the team's going to come out. They've both beaten top quality sides this year. For me, I'm going with Norths on this one. I think they've got one of the best players in the competition in Todd Goldstein. If he gets dominant in the ruck, gives them a good platform for their midfielders to go forward, they're going to be very hard to stop. So I've got Norths in a close one.
Yeah, look, I think Richmond play brave footy. They run, they carry, they take the game to the opposition, and they kick a lot of points. So we've seen them do it this year. They've beaten Hawthorn, they've beaten the top sides. I think if they play that way and do it well, which it looks like they have been lately, I think they're going to be hard to stop. And although North will come off fresh, they rested a lot of players last week, I'm still going to go with Richmond because I think guys like Cochin, they're going to have too much class. And Richmond have got two big key forward options in Vickery and Riewoldt who are going to be hard to stop if they get going.
Going to be a great game though. Of course, the last one of the finals, Adelaide Crows, Western Bulldogs. Who you got in this one?
Look, I've got Adelaide purely and simply because they've shown how they can kick massive scores. And I think Western Bulldogs, are still, they're young. They're a bit of a young team. They haven't played a lot of finals footy. So we all know September's a different story. I think Adelaide, they've had a hard season. It's been well documented what they've been through. I'd love to see them win. I think they can win. And I think they're the kind of team that plays footy that could make a few upsets and really push deep into the finals.
You're absolutely right on this one. I think Adelaide can go a bit deep into the finals, maybe win a couple of games. Look, their midfield, they've got some quality players there. Scotty Thompson, Patrick Dangerfield could be playing his last game for the Crows. And then they've got you've got some goal threats up front. Eddie Betts, Tex Walker. If their midfielders get on top, get those guys the service they need, they're going to be very hard to stop. And as I said earlier, they can go deep. That being said, the Bulldogs have upset some big sides this year. Obviously, they won in Sydney early in the comp, and that wasn't their only big win. But as you said, they're a young side. They're probably 1 or 2 years away from being a genuine threat in September. I've got the Crows going up in this one. Now, with footy finals upon us, it's casting a shadow over a number of other sports, such as cricket. Now, a few weeks ago, everyone was talking about the role of cricket pitches in international matches. And that got us wondering, how much influence should a cricket pitch have on a test match?
Cricket is influenced by home ground advantage more than any other sport. Tours to England, the subcontinent and South Africa are characterised as much by the pitches that teams play on as the opposition that they play against. Former Aussie captain Ricky Ponting made the bold claim last week that the coin toss should be abolished to level the playing field for touring teams.
We don't want the same wickets all around the world. We may as well lay concrete strips if that's going to be the case.
Owen Rice is one of Wollongong's leading groundsmen. He believes that the coin toss is something that is ingrained into the fabric of the game and is here to stay.
Kids as 5-year-olds are still spinning a bat to see who bats first, and they've lived in their backyard all their lives. I just think that's the way a match starts.
Rice said there are a number of factors that can influence the state of a pitch, and sometimes a coin toss will allow one team to benefit from those conditions. He said the best cricketers will still succeed when the toss doesn't go their way.
The best cricketers don't do a whole lot of complaining. They get on with it, and their skills enable them to overcome those differences between, say, here, the subcontinent, or England.
However, with Test cricket being played across 5 different continents, Rice said it is up to professionals to adapt their skills to different scenarios.
That's what cricketers do. All their lives are spent touring. They should know, we're here, this is how we play, we're there, that's how we play. Now we're back home, let's watch them play.
So, of course, the makeup of pitches in cricket, a bit of a contentious issue. Personally, I reckon it's great when we have distinctly different pitches across all formats of the game and all continents that the game is played in. It's that thing that makes cricket so great. You go to India, it's tough because it's going to turn square. You go to England, it's going to be tough because it's going to be nipping around. You come here to Australia, it's tough because the ball's flying past your eyes every few balls.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives those teams who maybe aren't as good, it gives them the level playing field, Australia are going to go to Bangladesh in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be difficult for them because they're playing on a subcontinent pitch. The ball is going to turn, it's going to be low, it's going to be slow. Completely different to what we've been playing on in England. So, yeah, it does, and it makes it interesting. That's what's great about Test cricket. All right, and it's that time of the week when we look at what we learned this week. So for me, Daniel, I learned that it's okay to rest players. Now, we had North Melbourne and Fremantle both rest majority of their team this week, and they've come through relatively unscathed into the first week of the finals with a fresh team. Same can't be said for Sydney and Hawthorn, who both lost key players in Kieran Jack and Isaac Smith, respectively. And I look at the other end of the spectrum as well, when Brisbane went out in a game that meant nothing against the Western Bulldogs in a dead rubber, and they fielded a full-strength side and won. Now, they've moved up to second last on the ladder. In doing so, they've conceded a number 1 draft pick, probably a number 2 concession draft pick from the AFL, and a number 1 preseason draft pick. Now, if you ask me, they've shot themselves in the foot. Now, that game meant nothing. A number 1 draft pick's what they really needed. They need to rebuild their list, and they haven't been able to do that now.
So essentially you're saying tanking is the way to go?
Well, if it meant that you get a number 1 draft picked, I'd be doing it, honestly. I think Carlton fans would be happy, put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. For me, what I learned this week was that cricket fans and indeed cricket players are really good at making a complex issue seem clear-cut when it's not. I'm referring to the Ben Stokes dismissal, of course, where you've had Owen Morgan saying that Steve Smith should have retracted his appeal. You've got Steve Smith quite rightly defending himself, and everyone kind of having an opinion saying they should have done this, they should have done that, he should have been given out, he shouldn't have been given out. Let's be honest, this is a really complex issue. I think by the letter of the law, he's probably not out because he's flinching away from the ball. It happens so quickly that it's hard to say he's deliberately stopping the ball. That being said, his arm's far enough away from his body, the ball's going on to hit the stumps. If his hand's not there, Ben Stokes is out. So you can absolutely understand why the Australians upheld the appeal. You can understand why the English guys are unhappy with it. But I think we just need to understand, this was a 50-50 decision. Went against England. You know what, guys? Let's move on.
Yeah, it's a grey area. Like, it's happened, 7 times in international cricket history. So, it's one of those things that you can't dwell on too much. You just got to move on. The umpire made a decision. End of story. Okay, so now it's time to look to the whiteboard, where last week we looked at an Aussie athlete who's making headlines for all the right reasons overseas. This week we're going to look to an athlete who's making headlines for all the wrong reasons.
Nick Kyrgios. You know him either as a gifted young tennis star or that guy who made the girlfriend sledge. Having just been dumped from Australia's Davis Cup side, Kyrgios is public enemy number 1 in Australian sports at the moment. However, a year ago, it was a very different story. Since then though, it's been rough sailing for the youngster. Kyrgios made headlines for all the wrong reasons at Wimbledon earlier this year. He was booed off the court as he lost to Richard Gasquet amid allegations of him throwing the match. It says something that he showed more fight in his post-match press conference than he did out on the court. But then, Kyrgios made things even worse for himself, coming up with this infamous sledge. However, this comes at a time where tennis is almost devoid of any real characters. For example, when Andy Murray was asked how he liked to eat his strawberries, this was his answer.
With my fingers.
Cheers, Andy. Now, no one is suggesting that Kyrgios' sledge makes him some kind of John McEnroe-esque character. It was classless, it was stupid, and it doesn't belong on the sporting field. There's nothing wrong with being a bit controversial, so long as you go about it in the right way. Kyrgios, he's got to earn that right. He's got to show the fight on the court that Australians have seen in their athletes, from Alan Border to John Eales to Leighton Hewitt. But if he does just that, while continuing to show his brash attitude, there's a chance Kyrgios could turn into that character that world tennis is crying out for at the moment. Or he could just chat up his fellow tennis stars.
Yeah, so plenty of talent, obviously, but you're right, he needs to bring that right attitude, and I think if he does it, he could be one of our best tennis players.
Oh, absolutely. He's got the talent. He just needs to get his head in the right space. And let's be honest, he's young. He's only 20. He's got plenty of time to improve, but he's got to start doing it soon, I reckon.
Absolutely.
Now, it's that time where we look ahead to the next week in sport with 5 fast questions. Jordan, let's start with the NRL finals. We haven't touched them yet. I'm going to start by asking, can anyone stop the Sydney Roosters?
Look, from what I've seen, I don't think they can if they play to their best. Now, they've shown they're probably they probably are the best side in the competition when they're at their best. Obviously, Brisbane finished second. If there's anyone that knows how to win finals footy, it's Wayne Bennett. So I think that's someone they're going to obviously be worried about. But I think if they play their best, they're going to probably knock off anyone.
Absolutely. I think the only team that can really beat the Sydney Roosters is the Sydney Roosters. If they don't play at their best, or if they get suspensions or injuries, that's what's going to hurt them most. As you say, Wayne Bennett knows how to win finals, and personally I'll never count out a team with Jonathan Thurston just because he is such a phenomenal player. But you've got to say, Roosters in the box seat to pick up a premiership this year.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and out of the bottom four, who do you think will make the biggest splash there?
It's got to be the Sharks, I think. These guys have got some quality players in there. You look, Paul Gallen, Luke Lewis, these are experienced players. Got Michael Gordon up the back as well, who's quality. I think when they get it right, they're a very dangerous side. I'm not sure they can go all the way, but they could cause an upset or two.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, the Rabbits haven't been playing their best footy this year. Inglis is back in, but I don't think that they're there. The Dragons probably, I don't think, will last the first round of the finals. You can't rule out the Doggies, but for me personally, I don't think anyone outside that top four is going to be making a genuine push for the premiership.
Next question. The English Premier League returns after the international break. Which side is going to come out strongest after the break?
Look, I think it was pretty well documented that Chelsea had a very average start to the season. Now, their premiership defence didn't start well. That break probably come at a really good time for them. The inclusion of Pedro made a massive difference in the last game they played. I think they'll have that break. They'll come back after it. They would have had a good chat this week. They'd be well into it, and I think their premiership defence probably starts now.
Absolutely. I think you look, those first few rounds of the EPL, if anyone needed a break after them, it was Chelsea, because they just got off to the worst start they could have imagined. And it took everyone by surprise. I think this way they get a bit of a clean slate. They can come back fresh from the break and really, as you say, start their title defence now. I think another side that would have been happy to get away from England for a bit would have been Liverpool. Of course, finishing with that disastrous 3-0 loss at home to West Ham. They'll be happy to forget that one, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And so the fourth question, can Serena win at Flushing Meadows and win her fourth Grand Slam for the year?
Absolutely. Who's going to stop her? I mean, you look at Serena Williams and you just have to say she is one of the most dominant athletes in all of sports from the past 20 or so years. I mean, you look at her record, it is phenomenal. And just at the moment, no one looks like beating her.
Yeah, you look at how dominant she's been in her sport for such a long period of time. And no one really rivals that. It's pretty amazing, really. So, I think you're right. I don't think anyone will beat her. She'll win her fourth Grand Slam, and yeah, it will be an amazing accomplishment. Okay,
I'll finish up with one last question. Go to the cricket here. Have injuries derailed Australia's ODI series over in England?
Look, maybe. I think Dave Warner is a big one. The thumb injury is a bit of cause for concern. Shane Watson and Nathan Coulter-Nile, obviously key players in that side at the moment. But we took a pretty good squad over there. I think we've got guys there who can come into that side and do well. If they can have a few good wins, they might be able to salvage the series, but we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, so I don't think it's too bad. You've got Aaron Finch coming in for Warner, who's he's a quality player. The Watson injury is a bit of a concern, I think. Coulter-Nile, you get James Pattinson in there. He's a quality player as well. So I think obviously it hurts us a lot, and you don't like to see a squad disrupted like that. But I think we can cope, and I still think the Aussies will get one more game to win the series.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, and before we go, just something for this week that we think you should check out. For me, all you guys finishing up your footy seasons now, if you want a good Mad Monday idea, check out Geelong. They kill it every year. They're amazing. Joel Selwood and Jimmy Bartell had the absolute cracker this year. They went as Mick Fanning and that famous shark, so that was brilliant. We'll chuck the link up in the description. You can have a look at all their costumes. Okay, guys, that's all we've got time for this week. So make sure you check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to UAW TV to check out all the latest episodes.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be back slightly earlier next week on Wednesday, bringing you your weekly sporting fix. Until then, grab yourselves an armchair to check out all this week's finals. We'll see you next week. See you later.